Okay, so let me show you the best way to cast on. Alright, so got this ball of yarn right here, a couple of size 8 needles. Use only one needle for casting on. I'm going to make a slip knot. That's the first thing I do. I twist a loop and reach through and pull out a loop. Okay, another way to do it is here on the table. You can twist a loop and fold it over the long part of the yarn. That's the part that leads to the ball. Take this strand that's in the middle of that circle and pull it tight. Okay? Making a slip knot's pretty simple. That's why people do it real fast and you're like, what did you just do? Okay, I'm going to make a loop, twist it, and reach for the long piece of yarn. That's this one. And it makes a little loop that slides. It pops right out. Or you can twist the yarn right on the table. Okay, make a loop. Now bend that loop over the yarn like so. And pull this piece that's going across the middle. Okay, so however you do it, in any case, turn the loop and reach through and pull out a loop. Slip knot. Alright, hang that on your needle. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure this tail, which mine's about a foot long, is near you. And you never ever want to make these stitches super tight. They need to be like a curtain on a curtain rod. Alright, so 2 fingers from my left hand are going to go looking inside of this little tent and close your hand on the 2 strands that hang down and make a little slingshot shape. This method is known as long tail and also slingshot cast on. If you see something that looks like this, that looks like a slingshot, one loop is around your thumb and one loop is around your index finger, you're doing it right. And you want to hold on to that one stitch you made to begin with. That's your slip knot, and that counts as stitch number 1. So I'm going to go walking up this little hill, up my finger. I'm going to go inside of there. Let's think of this as the door of a cave. So I'm going to go inside that cave and catch that other piece of yarn and bring it on out of the cave. Okay, and I'm going to tighten it up almost to the needle, not touching the needle, not gripping the needle real tight. Tightness is the enemy of the new knitter. Okay, I'm going to go up the hill again, go in the cave and catch that guy and bring him out of the cave. We're really knitting with one needle. That's the amazing thing about this kind of cast on, is we're making a row of knit stitches straight onto the needle. Okay, and we're going to make a whole bunch of them. And really, when you're a new knitter, you ought to make these until you're sick of it, because then you'll never have trouble making them ever again. That's how I did it. I watched a video on how to do it. They didn't say anything about a cave. I had a lot of trouble understanding exactly what they were doing in that video. But once I got it, I made up a little story so I could remember that I have a loop around my thumb. See that? And another piece is over on my index finger. It looks something like a slingshot. That's why they call it a slingshot cast on. They also call it long tail because that tail that we started with, that's the piece of yarn that makes all the stitches, and it was pretty long to begin with. It gets used up while you're making the stitches, but yeah, they call it the long tail cast on. And I'm going to continue making stitches until I have enough. And for the project we're doing, we're going to need 36. So you would need a piece of yarn maybe a yard long to start with. Okay, so that's a simple way to cast on, and when you're finished making your stitches, you turn them around and get started knitting. Move everything to the tip of the needle, get your yarn in place, and start making your knit stitches. Boom, boom, boom. There you go. Off and running. Okay? This is American style knitting, where I hold the yarn in my right hand. And for continental knitting, what some people call German style knitting, that's where we hold the yarn in the left hand. And we go a little faster. It's just harder to learn for a beginner, so we usually don't start it this way for beginners. But for continental knitting, I pretty much pull the window open and reach behind the yarn. And it's a little quicker of a method, but a little harder to understand when you're brand new and you're just coming in off the street to learn how to knit. So learn it later and you'll get faster, and you'll also have 2 different ways to knit, which helps relieve hand strain in future times. If you want to knit and knit and knit, you'll be fastest with continental style, usually. Or if you're left-handed, or if you have a lot of experience with crochet. So that's enough about getting cast on and getting started. The little glove pattern that I have, it starts with about 36 or 40 stitches depending on the size of the gloves that you want to make. And so that's it for casting on. Thank you. See you at one of my classes.